Biobanking really means and represents the management of samples from the start of their life cycles, which is when you collect the sample, for example blood, and the whole process associated with the handling of the samples, so the processing of the samples, the storage of the samples, and the use of those samples primarily for research purposes. It's really important that samples are biobanked because if someone intends to use those samples, they must be of the highest quality. And we can only ensure that if they're actually stored in a biobank that has conditions set, the physical conditions, ensure their quality. But not only that, a biobank exists to ensure that those samples are secure and that they're only accessed by people who have the right to use them. And biobanks always have standard operating procedures and policies to ensure the safekeeping of those samples. The ethical and legal framework for biobanking is really key to provide a reassurance to people who've provided samples that their samples are going to be used appropriately, and the consent process which people participate in to agree that they will donate their samples and their samples will be used for a particular purpose is fundamental to part of reassuring them that there is a process in place to ensure that the ethical oversight has been undertaken for the use of their samples. Well, when the UBioPred project started, there needed to be some consideration as to whether the biobanking was centralised or whether each individual site participating in UBioPred had its own biobank. And experience told us that it was much more effective to have a centralised biobank, which is what we have instigated within UBioPred. And that really means that there is a central hub such that all of the samples from the sites are sent to that central biobank, and then it makes it much more effective and simpler to be able to distribute those samples from the biobank to the sites and the platforms that are going to analyse the samples. So it's really about introducing an efficient process in which we have confidence from an ethical and legal perspective, and also confidence by using one centralised biobank that has also proved that it meets the quality criteria that we need for such a large, important project. What is very important from the point of view of UBioPred is that all of those samples that we haven't used for the project can be accessed for very valuable research projects in the future. The partners and the researchers who were involved in UBioPred will have ideas and projects planned for accessing those samples, but it's also important that people outside UBioPred have access to the very valuable resource.